Ready? let's just do what we planned. We'll just go through. Yeah, I think so. If I think we need more time, I'll look at you and just we'll keep going on the F.
Okay.
But otherwise, we'll just actually take some time.
Oh, okay. Can we listen?
We could either repeat something, or you could pull something out of your hat, or I can go to organ music and we can just take a break.
Up to you. You want him to play along?
Yeah, I'll go tell him. We could just do this. Why don't we start the first set, and then we'll just play it by ear. So, stop.
do you want to have?
The airs and the AP,
Oh yeah,
and the high drive.
Yeah.
Do those?
Yeah.
I'm thinking we got. Yeah, that'll do. Okay.
Good evening. We pause in the beginning of this ceremony to acknowledge that Middlebury College sits on land which has served as a site of meeting and exchange among Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. The Western Abenaki are the traditional caretakers of these Vermont lands and waters, which they call Ndakina, or homeland. We remember their connection to this region and the hardships they continue to endure. Let us take a moment of silence to pay respect to the Abenaki elders and to the Indigenous inhabitants of Turtle Island, past and present. We give thanks for the opportunity to share in the bounty of this place and to protect it. We are all one in the sacred web of life that connects people, animals, plants, air, water, and earth. And so now let us join in a spirit of invocation. From the east and from the west, from the north and from the south, gather we now, poets and playwrights, entrepreneurs and travelers, musicians and science nerds, inventors and activists, the excited, the homesick, the determined, and the resourceful. We invite into this moment that beating pulse of celebration, rotund with the spirits of learning, of inquiry and expression, coupled to the spirits of wonder and longing. Dedicate us this moment to imaginative new perspectives for a just humanity and an equitable world, to the rightful application of our good gifts in teaching and learning and sharing. Let knowledge divine dwell among us through the seasons and all that will pass between us and among us over the months and years ahead, inshallah, beginning now. Blessed now. Blessed, may it be so.
Good evening, and welcome to the Fall 2021 Student Convocation of Middlebury College. On behalf of the faculty, staff, and students of the college, I extend a warm welcome to the class of 2025. Give yourselves a little bit of a hand. I'd like to thank Dean Mark Orton, Associate Professor Jeff Bittner, members of the class of 2025, and the college choir who will be singing this evening, and George Matthews, the college carillonneur, for their outstanding contributions to this evening's convocation. I look forward to sharing some thoughts with you about the college a little later, but for now, I want to put into circulation Gamaliel Painter's cane. Gamaliel Painter was one of the visionaries who helped to found Middlebury College over 200 years ago. He was a familiar sight to the college's first students as he frequently roamed through the town's streets and strolled by the college, which was then entirely located on the site that is now Twilight Hall, at the bottom of the hill on the way into town. As he strolled about the town and the college, Gamaliel Painter carried with him a walking stick, and sometimes his wife and daughter were seen accompanying him. When he died in 1819, Gamaliel Painter bequeathed to the college a significant sum of money, enough to secure the future of this fledgling institution. He also left us his walking stick, and it has become an important symbol for us. It's a well-traveled, well-handled cane. It's made the trip with me 4 times to Monterey for the Middlebury Institute of International Studies commencement in California. It has once ended up in the back of a delivery van, so please be careful when I ask you to please pass it amongst yourselves. And when the last person receives the cane, will he, she, or they please return it to me so future generations of students can share in this tradition. This cane has many, many other stories besides the official one that we just told. Stories of the workers who made it, stories of the women who worked in the households of Vermont, where this cane and others like it stood in the hallways, stories of the groves of trees which provided the wood, and the Native Americans who cared for them. We are only beginning to tell these stories, and we ask you to remember all of them in the historical record, coming into the historical record, and left out of the historical record as you journey through Middlebury.
Hello, my name is Derek Doucette, and I serve as your Dean of Students. During this service, we will hear words on wisdom from religious and secular traditions from around the world. In keeping with Middlebury's commitment to language study, they will first be shared in their original languages, followed by an English translation. You'll also find a translation in your programs, and we invite you to take those programs with you at the end of today's service and reflect on these words on wisdom from time to time over the coming year.
Ashrei Adam matzah chochma, ve'adam yafik tfuna, ki tov sachra mischar kasef, umecharut tevuata. Yakara hi mipninim, v'chol chafatzecha lo yishvuva. Orech yamim bimina, bismola osher v'chavod. Dracheha drachei noam, v'chol netivoteha shalom. Etz chaim hi lamachazikim ba, v'tomheha me'ushar. Adonai bechochma yasad aretz, konen shamayim betfuna. B'da'ato tehamot nivka'u ushchakim yirafu tal. Happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who attains understanding. Wisdom's value in trade is better than silver, her yield greater than gold. She is more precious than rubies. All of your goods cannot equal her. In her right hand is length of days. In her left, riches and honor. Her ways are pleasant ways, and all her paths peaceful. She is the tree of life to those who grasp her, and whoever holds on to her is happy. The Lord founded the earth by wisdom. The Lord established the heavens by understanding. By the Lord's knowledge, the depths burst apart, and the skies distilled dew.
नहि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रं यः विद्यते तत् स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति श्रद्धावानो लभते ज्ञानं तत्परः संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं लब्धा परां शान्तिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति. In this world, there is no purifier like wisdom. In time, one who is oneself perfected by yoga finds that wisdom in the self. With wisdom as the highest goal, controlling the senses and filled with trust, one reaches wisdom. Then, with wisdom reached, one goes quickly to the highest peace.
Lectio Epistolae Beati Jacobi Apostoli. Qui sapiens et disciplinatus inter vos, ostendat ex bona conversatione operationem suam in mansuetudine sapientiae, quod si zelum amarum habetis in contentiones in cordibus vestris, nolite gloriari et mendaces esse adversus veritatem. Non est ista sapientia desursum descendens, sed terrena animalis diabolica, ubi enum zelus et contentio ibi inconstantia et omne opus pravum. quae autem discursum et sapientia primum quidem pudica est deinde pacifica modesta suadibilis plena misericordia, et fructibus bonis non judicans sine simulatione. Fructus autem justitiae in pace seminatur facientibus pacem. Who among you are wise and understanding? By their good manner of life, let them demonstrate their deeds in wisdom's meekness. But if you have bitter jealousy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast and lie against the truth. This is not the wisdom that comes down from above, but one that is earthbound, unspiritual, demonic. For where there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there is disorder and every kind of mean practice. But the wisdom from above is first of all pure, then it is peaceable, gentle, open to persuasion. It is filled with mercy and with good fruits. It is not divided, it is not insincere. But the fruit that is righteousness is sown in peace by the makers of peace.
Twala obulamu bwange ebirala byonna bigoye gwe musumba omulungi atagayalirira ndiga ze bw'onontwala leero sijja kubibirira kuba onooba nange mu buli nsonga yonna. Nazaako ebyonoono byange tukuzambe ng'omuzira ono naaza n'atukula n'abeeranga mu nnyumba yo Yesu. Nazaako ebyonoono byange tukuzambe ng'omuzira ono naaza n'atukula n'abeeranga mu nnyumba yo Yesu. Njakira Yesu wekitangaala ky'ensi w'ensulo y'obulamu obulamu obutaggwaawo bw'ononjakira n'alaba ekkubo lyo mwe nnaatambulira okutuuka ewuwo. Nazaako ebyonoono byange tukuzambe ng'omuzira ono naaza n'atukula n'abeeranga mu nnyumba yo Yesu. Nazaako ebyonoono byange tukuzambe ng'omuzira ono naaza n'atukula n'abeeranga mu nnyumba yo Yesu.
Hello, new friends. I'm Nicole Curvin, Dean of Admissions, and on behalf of the entire staff at Emma Willard House, welcome, class of 2025. Give us a round of applause again. Opening Convocation is one of the brightest days of the year. Your arrival as our new students is cause for celebration after more than many, many years of effort. You are the amazing culmination of our student recruitment work, and I am incredibly hopeful. Rest assured that no mistakes were made. You belong at Middlebury, and you belong here with us in Vermont. I want to acknowledge that you come to Vermont and Middlebury at a time of great challenge around the world. Your lives have been touched and shaped and influenced by the current global pandemic, political, educational, economic, and racial divisions that exist around you. And my hope is that you will feel empowered to engage in the conversations and progressive steps that need to happen here at Middlebury to keep us moving forward. You have collaborated with friends, family, and neighbors to find new ways to support each other and found hope and community. So take a moment to enjoy. You're finally here. You were selected from 11,908 applicants, which is the largest pool in our history. There are 690 first years and 7 transfers, our largest entering class. 70 students took a gap year and join us now. You hail from 45 states, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, and 66 countries. Middlebury continues to evolve as an institution committed to access and inclusivity, and that commitment is reflected in your class. Domestic students of color represent 35% of the class. 17% of our entering class will be the first in their family to attend college. 13% of the class join us from international communities, including Vietnam and Somalia and Mexico. As you'll begin to notice, the class of 2025 is an exceptionally talented and dynamic group. Your classmates have taken care of their grandparents and siblings and attended the Student Diversity Leadership Conference to become bridge builders. They have worked at delis and nursing homes, and a member of your class developed a documentary to spotlight the plight of elephants due to the ivory trade and was an invited speaker at the UN and National Geographic. Another built an internet-connected beehive monitor and also was competitive in archery at the national level. But what I'm struck most by this vast list of accomplishments that made all of you shine is the shared qualities that you will now bring to us at Middlebury. We heard about generosity and resilience and ambition. We know that you succeeded, and we also know that you have failed. You asked for help and recognized when you needed to apologize. You initiated change and engaged across difference. I admire your impact, but I also hope that we can now focus on the ways that these 690 divergent stories and lived experiences have joined together here with us at Middlebury. These will be the building blocks of our time together. I can't wait for you to continue to learn from your classmates, your faculty, and the staff over the next 4 years, and I am incredibly energized to think about all of the ways that the class of 2025 will leave their mark at Middlebury. So now I am honored to help mark an important transition in your lives, whereby, on behalf of the Office of Admissions at Middlebury, I symbolically hand off the class of 2025, entrusting our faculty and staff of Middlebury with the care of your minds, your bodies, and your spirits over the next 4 years. I know that you are in good hands. Thank you.
Good evening, students. My name is Smita Ruzika, and I serve as the Vice President for Student Affairs. Are you going next? Oh, okay, thank you. I have a few welcome remarks for you that I wanted to share with you. First of all, we are so excited that you are part of our community. As the cane gets passed around, I hope that you now feel connected to the generations of students that have come before you. We are so excited to welcome you to our community. As I have thought about what words of wisdom I can impart to you today, I come up with 3 words that I hope you can take with you for this semester, the next year, and the time that you will have. Those 3 words are grit, grace, and gratitude. You have already demonstrated a lot of grit as you have made your way to Middlebury, but continue to think about how you continue to demonstrate your passion and pursue your goals while you're here. Think about the important things that anchor you so that you can feel your grit throughout your time here. I want you to think also about grace and having grace when you fail and encounter those failures. Remember that in your failures, if you can find the learning and forgive yourself, you're giving yourself some grace. So practice some of that grace. And finally, practice the gratitude. Gratitude for all those who helped you come here today. Your family, your friends, your teachers. In these next few weeks and days, I hope you find those moments to thank all of those that helped you in your journey to here. Gratitude is also about practicing kindness with one another. And I hope that as you join this wonderful, warm, and welcoming community, you continue to think of the ways you can be kind to one another. So remember, as you go through this time, think about grit, grace, and gratitude. And now, I have the honor of introducing you as the class of 2025 and our new students. So if you are able to, please rise. President Patton, I present to you our new students and the class of 2025.
Hello again. You will experience many moments of joy in your time at Middlebury. You will also experience challenges and struggles. There are at least 2 reasons why that's absolutely okay. First, because everyone around you, take a moment and look around you, everyone around you will be experiencing challenges at some point in their time here as well. It might not be outwardly apparent, and that's important to keep in mind. We speak often of the myth of effortless perfection at Middlebury. That is the perception that everyone around you is cruising through their Middlebury experience without struggle, without bumps in the road. That is a myth, and it's important that you all remember that. When you struggle, you are not less than, and you are certainly not alone. The second reason these challenging times are okay is that you are joining a community ready to celebrate with you in the good moments and support you in the difficult ones. Among the most important sources of support you will find here are your student life deans. Each of you has been assigned a dean with whom you will remain connected for your entire Middlebury career. Their offices are in first-year communities right next door for most of you. Dean Matt Longman, also in Allen Hall. Dean Emily Van Meestry couldn't join us this evening, but she sends her greetings, and she is ordinarily found in Stewart Hall. And finally, Senior Student Life Dean Jennifer Sellers, also found in Stewart Hall. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Sujata Moti, the Dean of the Faculty. Class of 2025, on behalf of all of the faculty, I welcome you to Middlebury. We are delighted to have you join us. For the next 4 years, we, the faculty, will teach you, advise you, mentor you, and learn with you. We, the faculty, will be guides and fellow travelers on the intellectual journeys you started last week and will continue at least for the next 4 years. About a century ago, we gave up the practice of introducing students to Middlebury faculty one at a time. That would take a long time. Instead, I will use the next few minutes to paint an outline of our faculty. These are the people who will accompany you as you learn the skills and knowledge that are central to a liberal arts education. Through immersive and collaborative teaching practices, our faculty will guide you to become global ethical citizens. We will teach you how to be lifelong learners, and we hope you will embrace this process of intellectual discovery and self-discovery as a vital part of your education here. There are more than 300 individual faculty teaching this year, and another few dozen who are on sabbatical, engaging their lives as scholars and researchers. Like you, Middlebury faculty hail from all over the world and from across the United States. Around a dozen faculty are like you, brand new to the community. And it's hard to tell looking at us, but at one point, all of us have experienced the heady and nerve-wracking feeling of being a newcomer. Because of this experience, we, the faculty, can help you navigate the process of settling in college just as much as we can help you cultivate intellectual and scholarly skills. You will soon discover that the faculty at Middlebury occupy at least two distinct roles. We are teachers and we are scholars and artists. These roles are not distinct. Instead, what we teach and what we study or research flow into each other. Our work as teachers inform our work as scholars. Some of you will become part of the symbiotic relationship between our roles as teachers and scholars. Some of you will work with faculty as research assistants in the archive, in labs, or in studios. You will become a part of our scholarly and creative endeavors. Still, you will know faculty best in our roles as teachers. Feminist scholar Adrienne Rich enjoined students to claim an education. Our accomplished and dedicated faculty will teach you the love of learning, but it is you who must claim this education. Our faculty will offer you a wide range of courses and teach you in diverse ways. Some of us use the Socratic method, others flip the classroom. Still others see the classroom as hubs of innovation. Whatever our pedagogy, we share a commitment to an immersive classroom experience, one that is above all inclusive and grounded in the principles of equity. We will teach you to follow your intellectual and creative passions. We will urge you to step outside your academic comfort zone, and we'll help you discover new passions. You will come to understand, I hope, in 4 years, that learning is being in community. It is grappling together, inquiring together. In our classrooms, you'll discover that you gain insight from rigorous debate as much as when you are in agreement. We will teach you how to engage with a diversity of ideas and to think critically about them. We will encourage you to grapple with big questions such as global pandemics, climate change, and structural racism. I urge you to read the college's mission statement. These are the principles which guide our faculty inside and outside the classroom. But you will learn this and more about our faculty from direct experience. Let me spell out briefly the other part of who we, the faculty, are, the part that often remains hidden to our students. We are scholars. We are part of an intellectual community that is dedicated to understanding the world we inhabit, to charting new pathways to a better, more just tomorrow, to discovering new knowledge. Regardless of our field and areas of expertise, we are each committed to cultivating a better world. We embark on a quest for knowledge in all of the different languages we teach here at the college. We conduct our research here in Vermont and all over the world and beyond. We study galaxies as well as the Game of Thrones. We study the past and imagine futures. We write books, articles, produce art and films, create music and dance. We write for our peers and for you. We also engage the world at large. As scholars, we're committed to a lifetime of learning. And so we are delighted to accompany you on your intellectual journeys, on this first step towards leading consequential and creative lives. Whatever I've said today is an incomplete description of the breadth and depth of this indescribably committed creative community of scholars. We are passionate about education and knowledge production. We are here to share with you in your intellectual adventures. Get to know us individually. Join us in the joys of discovery, small and large. We hope too that you'll revel in the transformative power of education. Learn to transgress and to steward our resources. Welcome to Middlebury.
Can everyone hear me? Wonderful. I thought I was going to be nervous giving this speech because there are so many of you, and I can confirm that that is true. My name is Ronnie Lazama. I am a first-generation Mexican-American college student from New York City, studying international politics and economics with a minor in education studies. My pronouns are he, him, his. And my journey with Middlebury began with the Posse Foundation. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Welcome, class of 2025. On August 12th of this year, I received an email informing me that as SGA president, I would have to give the welcome speech to the class of 2025 during Convocation. Immediately, I began reminiscing on my own Convocation, how surreal of a feeling it was to attend this ceremonial event. Just a couple of days from my own Convocation, I was back in New York City, living with my grandmother and my father, living in the known. Then, in September of 2018, I was at a Convocation as a first-generation Mexican-American student who, in all honesty, did not know what Convocation was. That was my leap into the unknown, as it is for all of you. And after hours of reimagining different scenarios, different introductions and speeches, I realized that what I wanted to get across to all of you are actually my father's words as he dropped me off at college for the last time. We were standing outside of Ross, where I lived my first year, and he told me, "Estoy orgulloso de ti." I'm proud of you. He told me that as I go into my last year and I step into campus, that I should live my own life, ensure that I don't compare myself to others, and keep being myself. Those words were probably the ones that I needed the most in that moment, and I know that a younger version of myself needed them then even more. So I'm about to tell you everything younger Ronnie needed to hear when he was sitting where you all are today at Convocation. Number one, you deserve to be here. All of you are here because of your grand ambition and your relentless perseverance. All of this will manifest itself differently as you find yourself grinding and working hard on campus. Give yourself time to rest and never question whether you deserve to be here. Number two, don't compare yourself to others. One of the greatest strengths of Middlebury College are the students that roam its residence and academic halls, with all 2,800 excellent students coming in with different sets of identities, skills, and traits that make them who they are. You are one of those brilliant 2,800. Don't waste time trying to be like anyone else. It was a hard lesson for me to learn as I was a first-generation college student who came into higher education without any familial experience or background. This might take time, and it is okay. It is hard to not compare yourselves to others when you're surrounded by brilliance, but you are brilliant too. A lesson that took me a while to learn. Number 3, give yourself time and space to reflect. Many of you, like myself, made the decision to attend Middlebury College right after finishing high school. High school, especially when you are as ambitious and diligent of students as you all are, must have been stressful. Give yourself space to recover and embrace the beginning of a new, exciting, and wonderful moment in your life. Reflection and space are the tools by which we take care of ourselves and others from exhaustion and stress. You've made it. This is the beginning of a new era. Nonetheless, reflect and give appreciation for those that helped to get you here. For some of you, that might be a parent, a friend, or a mentor. For me, that was my undocumented father who ran across the border so I could walk across the graduation stage. Reflection allows us to give thanks and care to all that has been sacrificed to get us here. Reflect, take a breath, and continue this part of your journey with grace and ease. You did it. Actually, in the same vein of reflection, higher education, whether that is college, community college, or vocational schools, are not accessible to everyone. Make the most of this opportunity and congratulate yourself for making it to this milestone. Use this space at Middlebury College to uplift others. Continue to fight for your peers. Continue to advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Continue to be an activist and advocate for good on our campus. Continue to be reflective, understand your privileges, and make it so that all, especially those from historically excluded and marginalized communities, can feel welcomed in the spaces that we hold. If no one has told you yet, estamos orgullosos de ti. We are proud of you. May you find happiness. May you find care. May you feel valued and loved. May you enjoy this new chapter in your life. May the strength of the hills be yours. Welcome, class of 2025.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم ومما أخرجنا لكم من الأرض ولا تيمموا الخبيث منه تنفقوا ولستم بآخذيه إلا أن تغمضوا فيه واعلموا أن الله غني حميد. الشيطان يعدكم الفقر ويأمركم بالفحشاء والله يعدكم مغفرة منه وفضلا والله واسع عليم يؤتي الحكمة من يشاء ومن يؤت الحكمة فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا وما يذكر إلا أولو الألباب صدق الله العظيم. You who believe, give charitably from the good things you have acquired and that we have produced for you from the earth. Do not give away the bad things that you yourself would only accept with your eyes closed. Remember that God is self-sufficient, worthy of all praise. Satan threatens you with the prospect of poverty and commands you to do foul deeds. God promises you his forgiveness and his abundance. God is limitless and all-knowing, and he gives wisdom to whomever he will. Whomever is given wisdom has truly been given much good, but only those with insight bear this in mind. Thank you.
如今学者不得，病在深处，病在不自信处。而若自信不及，即便茫茫地寻一切尽转，被他万境回幻，不得自由。而若能歇得念念持求心，便与诸佛不别。When students fail to make progress, where is the fault? The fault lies in the fact that they don't have faith in themselves. If you do not have faith in yourself, then you will forever be in a hurry trying to keep up with everything around you. You will be twisted and turned by whatever environment you are in, and you can never move freely. But if you can stop this mind that goes rushing around moment by moment, looking for something, you will be no different from the ancestors and the Buddhas.
I want to talk about dreaming. Not the activity of the sleeping brain, but rather the activity of an awake and alert one. Not idle, wishful speculation, but engaged, direct daytime vision. About entrance into another space. Someone else's situation, sphere, projection, if you like. By dreaming, the self permits intimacy with the other without the risk of being the other. And this intimacy that comes from pointed imagining should precede all of our decision-making, all of our cause-mongering, and our action. We are in a mess, and we have to get out. We should visualize, imagine, dream up, and enter the other before we presume to solve their problems or ours. We might as well dream the world as it ought to be.
healing river, send down your water, send down your water upon this land. Oh, healing river, send down your water and wash the blood from off the sand.
This land is parching, this land is thirsting. No seeds are growing on the barren ground. Oh, healing river, send down your water. Oh, healing river, send your water down.
Oh, seed of freedom, awake and flourish. Let the deep roots nourish. Let the tall stalk rise. Oh, seed of freedom, awake and flourish. Proud leaves uncurling.
Proud leaves uncurling unto the sky. Unto the sky. Oh, healing river. Send down your water.
Send down your water.
Send down your waters.
Send down your waters
upon this land.
Upon this land.
Oh, healing river, send down your water and wash the blood from off the sand.
Welcome again to Middlebury. You have had a whole week of college life behind you. You've met some people, you know a few buildings, you have some mental maps to follow. And this ceremony tonight is another kind of mental map, a map of wisdom. This little program book that you have, we give it to students every year, and we hope you return to it again and again when you are in need of wisdom. Because as a college student, you become wise. You learn that wisdom is more than just knowledge. It is using knowledge in the right way, understanding how information can be used for good in the world. In your booklet, Linji, the Zen master, writes that the beginning of wisdom is students having faith in themselves. So let's start there. You've heard it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times tonight. Everyone at Middlebury is as talented as you are, but in a different way. And that can be exhilarating, and it also can be disorienting and discouraging. People already know staggering amounts about subjects you've never heard of, lived in places you barely recognize on a map, competed in athletic contests you didn't even know existed. And maybe you've met those people that we've just talked about, the novelist, 3-varsity athlete who started her own NGO and hiked the Appalachian Trail solo. And the most annoying thing was, as you probably also already discovered, she was really nice about it too. That is the Middlebury way. But no matter how accomplished everyone around you is, and you are yourself, know that intellect and accomplishment are not wisdom. Wisdom is not knowing or achieving, but knowing and achieving your own truth. So this is the first part about becoming wise. Your job is not to be like others. Your job is to be like yourself. So I ask you now, and I will never tire of asking you throughout your time here, how long are you going to worry, like some of you are right now, sitting on those benches and listening to us? How long are you going to worry about who you are not when you should be getting on with the glorious business of being who you are? Whoever that person is and wherever that person takes us in our community. And once you've stopped comparing yourself to everyone else, then you can go on to that second part of wisdom, understanding that you are Middlebury. You belong here because you have the creativity, the drive, and the grit that is characteristic of the people who come here. And even more, you have compassion. You've come after a global disruption that we have not seen in a century. You come after COVID-1 and in the midst of COVID 2.0. You may not have experienced the give and take of an in-person classroom. You may not know the rules of engagement with professors, except online. You might feel rusty in your critical thinking skills, the very things that you wanted to come to mid to develop. You might be anxious about your social skills, an integral part of the college experience, yes, but not yet part of your experience. Even as you start college, the next major stage of life, you still might be processing the losses in your families from last year, loss of a loved one, of a job, of a dream. There are a myriad of ways, stated and unstated, that you are different than students that we've seen before. And it is our job to listen, to pause, to take the time to understand what experiences you are bringing with you. Our classrooms are your first communities since the pandemic. We welcome you into them and ask you to evolve with us into a wider Middlebury that incorporates all that we collectively have learned from the experiences of the last year. And remember that part of wisdom is having the courage to ask for help. It is a good thing to ask for help, a really good thing. You need friends and family and advisors and professors and classmates and coaches and librarians and compass mentors and townspeople you met on a project and teammates, all to help keep you going. We expect you to be brave enough to ask for help. It's what I call local courage. You are coming into a community that will help you, even as they travel on their own journeys. Last year, Middlebury students ranked others' health above their own, and that's one example among many that you'll find about what kind of community you're coming into. Here's just a small example of our community from the past summer. In July, we celebrated the start of a production of renewable energy at the largest anaerobic digester in the Northeast that we planned and helped to plan and build right here in Addison County. It's the culmination of a historic partnership between Middlebury, a local dairy farm, and regional utility and renewable energy companies, and the execution of a vision by Middlebury students, faculty, and staff beginning a decade ago. That is our community's commitment to rely solely on renewable energy sources by 2028. Middlebury undergrads like you in architecture courses are designing houses in practice, not theoretically, and building them, partnering with Habitat for Humanity of Addison County. Their exquisite work can be found with families living in them here in Middlebury and in neighboring Virgin City. These are expressions of community built on those values of respect, connectedness, and openness. In Monterey, at the Middlebury Institute, where I hope many of you can go to study, in California, researchers and scholars are working side by side with students at the James Martin Center for Nonproliferation. They're using open source intelligence to challenge efforts by nations around the globe to conceal or exaggerate nuclear capabilities. Read the August 7th edition of The Economist. Your professors in Monterey are the major story of that edition. And this fall, I eagerly await reports from our students who spent the summer engaged with work funded by our Projects for Peace grants. Senior Febs Alexandria Burns and Olivia O'Brien led a cohort of 6 Middlebury peers in travel to Colorado and Texas, where they collaborated with nonprofit organizations to explore humane alternatives to immigrant detention. While junior Hugh Nguyen worked to expand a letter writing project between youth and teens in Vermont and his native Vietnam to a series of countries, including Kenya, Uganda, Armenia, and Eswatini. This is community in action. But there is another story from this summer, one I believe that is as inspiring as it is dramatic, and it is quintessentially Middlebury, and I feel I must tell it to you now. If you turned on the news even once in the past month and a half, you would know about the US withdrawal from Afghanistan, the swift Taliban takeover of the country, and the chaos that erupted as many American and Afghani citizens feared for their lives and tried to escape. Much of our August was spent working with 2 extraordinary Afghani Middlebury alumni and helping them to make a dangerous journey out of Kabul into exile with only a few days' notice. Shabana Bisaj Rasik, class of 2011, is founder of SOLA, the first boarding school for girls in Afghanistan. She brought hundreds of women, faculty, staff, and students to the airport and then to Doha, Qatar. From Doha, she brought them to Kigali, Rwanda, where they are now pursuing study abroad as an entire school. And as she had stated in her public writings during and since her escape only a few weeks ago, the uninterrupted education of women is one of the most important forms of resistance that can occur right now. She is teaching wisdom to the world. Her fellow Middlebury alum, Bilal Sawari, class of 2010, also made a harrowing escape from Kabul to Doha to Canada, where he arrived last week and is still in quarantine. Bilal is an Afghani citizen, a freelance, high-profile, pro-democracy journalist who also ran for a seat in the now defunct Afghan parliament in a conservative al-Qaeda-dominated province. As an Afghan, he was low on the American list of potential evacuees. As a freelance journalist, he was not an official employee of any media company, and therefore low on all of their lists too. He's collaborated with many pro-democracy activists and written for and given interviews with CNN, NPR, ABC, BBC, Al Jazeera. And he was higher profile than many on the official lists. But Bilal had no country with the fall of Afghanistan. He had no company as a freelance journalist. He had Middlebury, and he had wisdom. There are many Afghani alums that we are in touch with, all of them doing brave and important work. But it's worth noting the examples of these 2 young people, one creating the first girls' school in Afghanistan, and the other relentlessly exercising his right to free expression on behalf of a democratic, equitable, and just Afghanistan, risking their lives and showing extraordinary courage in the last 10 years as they tried to build their country. Because of that courage, both of them were high-profile targets for the Taliban and knew from intelligence sources that they were on kill lists. Let me give you further examples from their story. The most dangerous part of Bilal Sawari's journey was not the flight out of Kabul. It was not being at the chaotic airport. It was getting to the airport, Early on, I asked him, "How far away are you from the airport?" And he replied, "About 3 minutes. But I know I won't be able to get there if people see me." For 3 nights, we were in touch with the heads of almost every major news organization in the US, the UK, and their staff. Everyone knew Bilal, and some had even recently interviewed him. They knew the quality of his work because he learned to write at Middlebury. He became one of the best young journalists in Afghanistan. But the wealth of all of these organizations and his reputation and his most recent appearances on these channels could not make him a priority because he was not an employee. Here in Vermont, we thought about every option to get him to the airport: helicopters, underground tunnels. We thought of helping him to go in disguise, but Bilal did not have time to change his papers, and they would have given him away. He was just too high profile. I should mention here that he had a wife, a 2-month-old baby, a father with Parkinson's disease, and a mother. But instead, Bilal used wisdom. His connections with other reporters on the ground who knew people from the nation of Qatar. All throughout August, the Qataris had been quietly organizing protected convoys of Afghani citizens and some Americans to get to the airport. In some cases, the Qatari ambassador used his own military protection and security guards to create safe passage to the airport. In other cases, the Qataris used moderate Taliban escorts to protect the convoys. Finally, Bilal was able to land a place on one of those convoys. We were texting with him every yard of that dangerous journey as he was escorted by the Taliban, the very group he was trying to escape. The reading from Proverbs we heard just now states that wisdom is better than silver or gold. And we could take this to mean that it's better to have a meaningful life than a wealthy life. And that's true. And you will get an education that will teach you that in so many ways. But Bilal's story shows us something more. He had the wisdom to know that friendship, not power, but connections on the ground, not highly resourced news outfits, would save his life. In another reading you heard tonight, the Gita tells us that wisdom comes from controlling the senses and being filled with trust, and that being wise means having discipline, and Middlebury will ask that of you. But it's more than that. Shabana Basij Rasik knows this well. She had less than a day to move 140 women, staff and faculty, out of their homes and to the airport. She had the discipline to plan for this day, even when those around her and those in the United States told her that Kabul wouldn't fall. It did, not in 6 months, not in a year, but in 2 days. Shabana knew, as she planned ahead, about many important things. Let me take one poignant example. She knew that once the Taliban arrived at her school, they would find student records and find student families from those addresses. So even though it was heartbreaking, she knew that if the moment came, she would have to destroy the records of the entire school that she built to keep the girls and their families safe. And that moment did come. Shabana knew also that the documents could not be burnt because the smoke would show her location, attract attention, and create suspicion. So she had another plan. She used acid. And when in early August, Shabana got a phone call, the Taliban are 10 minutes away. She used acid to destroy every record of the school she had built, and she left instantly. She took her school with her. Many of them left in full burqa or head-to-toe covering, the very thing that they had been fighting against as women, insisting on their right to an education and move about in public, was used as a key form of disguise as they made their escape. Shabana had discipline and control, the foresight to plan. In the reading from the New Testament, James tells us that wisdom is filled with mercy and good fruits. It is not divided. Shabana's efforts to get the school to safety did not end with the destruction of the records. Later that day and the next, most of the Sola women had been able to get inside the airport. In fact, it was miraculous that they had been able to do so. But there were some stuck outside the gate, more than 50 women, in fact. And Shabana had promised everyone that they would make it, and she did not feel she could let them down. Earlier, she had befriended a U.S. Marine inside the airport and happened to see him as she thought desperately about how to get the Taliban guard to allow these women to come in with her. When the Marine understood her predicament, and because of their spontaneous friendship of only a day, he found a way to get to the right gate and persuade the right people to allow those 50 women in. Wisdom is not divided, says James, and Shabana would not let her women be divided. She was guided by the wise determination that all women from Sola should stay together. In one of your final readings for tonight, the Quran states that God gives wisdom to whomever he will. Certainly, whatever religion you are part of, or none, we can agree that it was given to these two extraordinary young people who graduated only 10 years ago. And here's the most important thing of all. Shabana and Bilal's stories of escape would be just one among many that we have seen and heard about in the news, except for one thing. They both credit their Middlebury education with giving them the wisdom and courage to do what they did in an extreme situation. To be sure, they already had the kind of character that they showed over the past month as the Taliban took over their country. But that character, those principles were shaped and deepened here at Middlebury, where you are now. Middlebury gave them the relationships to keep them going. Trustees from Pakistan, from the media, faculty with contacts in the Middle East, deans with contacts in the US government, fellow students and staff, all came together to get them out. Most importantly, their classes at Middlebury gave them the long view of history and of politics and of religion. It gave them the critical thinking skills to question, to probe, and to build. It gave them a sense of justice and fair process and the need for access to knowledge for all, whether through education or the media. The relationships they built and ideas they encountered at Middlebury were models for them as they moved out into the world, a world far more dangerous than the one we occupy here in Middlebury, Vermont. In other words, they didn't just gain knowledge here, they gained wisdom and even courage. And Middlebury, this community, gave them that courage. And we may not have even known we were doing it. Bilal and Shabana's lives were in danger because they continued to stand for their principles, principles they deepened and even learned here. Middlebury literally gave them heart. And Middlebury will do it again this year for you, our first-year students. I sent Bilal a picture of Middlebury every day that he was trying to flee from Kabul. He wrote back to me, "Middlebury is my second home. Middlebury's training helped me to become myself and make a name for myself in the world. I am overwhelmed by its kindness, and I am trying to reach my mother of knowledge and her city as soon as possible." Bilal is closer to us now, and he will come to be with us, we hope, soon. But during those most dangerous hours, and even in the second-by-second hair-raising drive through Kabul to the airport, Bilal took comfort from the pictures of the Vermont mountains all around us now, because that is where he found his intellectual and spiritual home. This is the essence of a 21st century Middlebury education: to encourage, to give heart. Bilal and Shabana found their wisdom and courage here, and so will you. Welcome to Middlebury.
Thank you.
And now, Madison Middleton, class of 22.5, and members of the Middlebury College Choir will sing the alma mater, the lyrics of which are printed on page 12 of your program. In order to minimize respiratory aerosols, please refrain from singing along and listen as we all familiarize ourselves with the tune and the lyrics. After the alma mater and the benediction, please remain in your seats until the administrative processional has left the building. And now, please stand as you're able.
All surviving paths of beauty we have known and loved thee well. Spired chapel rising proudly, morning hymn and evening bell. Middlebury, alma mater, symbol of our strength and truth. Symbol of our strength and truth. Sunset glowing o'er the mountains, snowy peaks and winding bays, peaceful stillness o'er the campus, memories of most happy days.
The most loving, the infinitely transcendent. Let us now sit with this closing of celebration, presence, and gratitude. For a moment, shed the anxieties as best as you can, and instead bask in the blazing possibilities ahead of you in these next few years. The budding and blossoming, the learning and sometimes the unlearning. New friends, new paradigm shifts, and the expansion of becoming a truer you. Let us take a moment of silence and welcome this in. James Russell Lowell, the great New England Romantic poet, wrote that a true liberal arts education emancipates the mind from every narrow provincialism, whether of egoism or tradition, and is the apprenticeship that everyone must serve before becoming free. May you master the art of becoming free. May you ask the world's most burning questions. May you find what stirs the depths of your being. May your deepest purpose become your most pleasant labor. And may that emblazon the path ahead of you in every waking moment of your life. Ameen and Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you.
peace.